నమస్కారం.
నమస్కారం. ఓం గణానాం త్వా గణపతికం హవామహే కవిం కవీనాం ఉపమశ్రవస్తమం జ్యేష్ఠరాజం బ్రహ్మణాం బ్రహ్మణస్పదాన శృణ్వన్ ఓధిభిశ్రేతసాదనం మహాగణపతయే నమః. ఓం శ్రుతిస్మృతిపురాణానాం ఆలయం కరుణాలయం నమామి భగవత్పాదశంకరం లోకశంకరం శంకరం శంకరాచార్యం కేశవం బాదరాయణం. సూత్రభాష్యకృతౌ వందే భగవంతః పునః పునః ఈశ్వరో గురురాత్మేతి మూర్తిభేదవిభాగినే వ్యోమవద్వ్యాప్తదేహాయ దక్షిణామూర్తయే నమః. సదాశివసమారంభాం శంకరాచార్యమధ్యమాం అస్మదాచార్యపర్యంతాం వందే గురుపరంపరాం. ఓం సహనా భవతు సహనౌ భునక్తు సహ వీర్యం కరవావహై తేజస్వినావధీతమస్తు మా విద్విషావహై. ఓం శాంతి శాంతి శాంతి. మూకం కరోతి వాచాలం పంగుం లంఘేదే గిరిం యత్కృపాతమహం వందే పరమానందమాధవం. యత్కృపాతమహం వందే శ్రీదయానందసద్గురుం. యత్కృపాతమహం వందే సద్గురుం చంద్రశేఖరం. ఓం నమో బ్రహ్మాదిభ్యో బ్రహ్మ విద్యా సంప్రదాయకర్తృభ్యో వంశ ఋషిభ్యో మహద్భ్యో నమో గురుభ్యో. So the section in the upasaṁhārabhāṣya that we are in, the discussion has been one of looking at the pramanyam status of the Shruti. The argument that the Purvapakshi presents, since the Purva Bhaga of the Veda, which consists of Vidhi Nisheda Param, so when a karma is ordained by the Vedas, it is addressing a karta. So from the point of view of the Veda, the kartrutvam is mukhyam eva, mukhya kartrutvam. Otherwise, the Shruti will lose its status as the pramana. Bhashyakara replied, that's not so. The pramana of the Purva Bhaga of the Karmakanda or the Veda is only adrishta darshanartha vishayatvat pramanyasya. So it is revealing things which are not known to you. So in that sense, it is revealing anatigata vishaya. But in terms of knowledge of the Atma, particularly the kartrutvam of the Atma, since it is badhitam later in the Jnanakanda, the second definition of pramana doesn't apply to the Purva Bhaga of the Veda. But it is anadigatatvam is there, but abadhitvam is not there. But from the anadigatatvam point of view, since it is revealing the adrishta vishaya, it has pramanyam status. Iti the discussion. And Bhashyakara concluded, even if hundreds of Shrutis will come and say, fire is cool, iti, or it doesn't have prakashyam, iti, then it doesn't have, that statement cannot be accepted because it is contradicted by another pramana that fire is hot, has the prakashamiti. So then a pramana cannot be contradicted by another pramana, or it cannot be contradicted by itself. Natu kalpyam. So natu kalpyam. So we just have to put a word there. Natu kalpyam. Pramanandra viruddham. Swavachana viruddham va. So what is a pramana has to stand on its own merit, cannot be contradicted by another pramana, nor it can contradict itself. So that is the summation of that discussion. Now the Purvabhakshi comes up with another argument. So that is the section we will discuss. So what the section we are going to do is what is bracketed here. So this portion, okay, where there is a discussion again about the pramanyata of the Shruti. So this section is again lot of mimamsa, and Bhashyakara goes into the fundamentals of what is a pramana, and thereby is establishing that which is svatasiddham atma is never pramanagamyam at any point in time. The jnana kanda portion of the Veda also only has a relevance in removing the ignorance about the Atma, not to reveal Atma, not Pratipadanartham. So that is the idea. So now the objection. So since there's a lot of side notes which you have to which have to be supplied, instead of putting it on the document, which is difficult to see, I have put them by numbers here, and the numbers corresponding, say like 1, 2, 3, 4, etc. So these are the additional comments to understand these statements. Mithya pratyayavat kartrukatvat. I underline this because it's a very complicated compound. So that compound I will explain. Mithya pratyayavat kartrukatvat. First let's see that compound. Mithya pratyaya means wrong knowledge, erroneous knowledge. Mithya pratyaya asya asti iti mithya pratyayavan, the one who has erroneous knowledge. Mithya pratyayavan karta yasya mithya pratyayavat kartrukah. The one who has this wrong knowledge is the karta. Karta is one who has wrong knowledge. So that is the Bahurihi. So mithya pratyayavan karta yasya saha mithya pratyayavat kartrukah. Then make a neuter of that. Tasya bhavah mithya pratyaya kartrukatvam. So the ness of a karta, that is one who has the status as a karta on account of erroneous knowledge, that status is mithya pratyaya kartrukatvam. Okay? Mithya pratyaya kartrukatvat. So then the hetu. Because of that, kartuhu abhave shrutehe pramanyam Srutehe apramanyam idi chet. If you say that the one who is doing karma is because of the wrong sense of doership on the part of the person who is doing, the one who has taken himself to be a doer. How did that happen? because of mithya pratyaya. Erroneous knowledge made him to take himself to be a karta. If since it is caused by mithya pratyaya, kartuhu abhave, that means there is no karta. It is a wrong assumption, wrong notion. Then Shrutehe apramanyam, then Shruti loses its pramanyata because it is all the Vidivakyas will become anarthakyam. Iti chet. So that is the argument. That is the same objection. He again brings it back. Then Bhashyakara replies, na. Okay. This na is to indicate that the Karmakanda portion is indirectly useful. So it is not direct, the Pramanyam is still there because it is indirectly useful. So you can still give the status of Pramanyam to the Shruti because it is indirectly useful. So that na has that meaning there because what follows? What follows? Brahma Vidyayam Arthavatva Upapattehe. That is this has to be expanded, what Bhashyakara has in mind, because he has said that elsewhere, so he doesn't repeat himself. But what is the reason for him to say that the Karmakanda portion of the Veda is indirectly relevant? So it still has the Pramanyata. So he quotes elsewhere, this is the connection here, the famous statement from the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad in the 4th Adhyaya, Tametam Vedānuvachanena Brahmanaha Vividishanti Yajnena Dānena Tapasa Anashakena Etam Yeva Viditva Munihi Bhavati. A Brahmana means one who wants to do enquiry. How did he get this inclination, the proclivity to enquire? What made him to come to that? I have to enquire. Veda Anuvachanena, because he is studying the Veda, doing the Adhyayanam. Then Yajna Dana Tapas. Anashakena, by some austerities. He then gets the desire to enquire. Vividishanti. Only through process of coming through the Karmakanda, only by following certain regimen in his life, following certain discipline, once he becomes sadhana chadushtaya sampannaha, then he has the inclination, proclivity to enquire. That is the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad Vakya. And the same idea is echoed by Bhagavan in Bhagavad Gītā. Same idea. It's just borrowed idea from the Brihadaranyaka. Yangyadana tapakarma na tyajyam karyameva tat. Then for this, then yajno danam tapaschaiva pavanani manishinam. That is the rest of the sloka. Very important sloka in the entire Gītā, you might say, because of the words that are used there. Yangyadanam tapakarma is exactly echoing the Brihadaranyaka Upanishad statement. But then Krishna adds here that what does that do? It makes pavanani, manishinam pavanani. Bhashyakara writes for this small section of the sloka, Yajnaha dhanam tapakiti etat trividham karma na tyajyam na tyaktavyam. It cannot be given up. So you have to have that portion of the Veda. Karyam karaniyam eva tat. What is karyam? It is karaniyam. It has to be done. Kasmat yajnaha dhanam tapaschaiva pavanani vishuddhikarani. It is gives the antakarana shuddhi. Bhagavan doesn't say it gives moksha. It gives you antakarana shuddhi, which is the sadhana chatushtaya sampatti, manishinam phala anabhisandhinam iti etat. The one who is doing this karma, yajnadhanam tapakarma, without looking for any particular result. So sakama karma, they can be done as sakarma karma, but he is doing nishkama karma iti, and for him that antakarana shuddhi, which is necessary for jnanam, prerequisite for jnanam, that is what the karma provides. So therefore it is indirectly, it is useful. So the pramanyam is there. Sayanacharya, writing the Bhashyam for the Veda, in the introduction, Krishna Yajurvediya Taitriya Samhita, that is the Krishna Yajurveda Bhashya. But before the Bhashya, there is a Bhumika, then introduction. There he writes, Na kevalam nitya naimittikabhyam anushankikah swarga praptihi kim tu dhi shuddhaya vividisha utpadanadvara brahmajnana hedutvam api tayoho asti. That is the Sayana Bhashya Upodghātam or Bhumika. So by the Nitya Naimittika karma are not simply meant or mentioned in the Veda that they will give Swarga Prapti. Nitya Naimittikabhyam Anushangika Swarga Praptihi na kevalam. But what does it do? Kintu Dhi Shuddhaya, by Antakarana Shuddhaya, Vividisha Utpadana Dwara, even the desire to make the enquiry will come only by this. Iti Brahmajnana Hedutvam Tayoho. Therefore, the Nitya Naimittika karmas, which the Veda ordains in the Karmakanda portion, have indirect relationship for Brahma Jnana Prapti. Therefore, they still have Pramanyata. Iti Bhashikara makes that point. The Purvapakshi is still not satisfied. Then he says, Karma vidhi shruti Brahma vidya vidhi shrutehe api apramanya prasangah idi chet karma vidhi shruti that is the third point. Veda vakyatvat karma kandavat jnana kandasyapi apramanyam idi chet by the ardha jariya nyayat. That what he says, suppose you reject the pramanyata of the karma kanda portion of the Veda, then the jnana kanda portion also loses its pramanyata. Otherwise, Veda as a whole cannot be considered as a pramana. If you reject one portion of the Veda as not pramana, accept another portion of the Veda as the pramana, then that will be like ardhajariya nyaya. The body is old, but it is half of the body is old, half of the body young iti, that cannot be there in the same locus. So that is called ardhajariya nyaya. Two ideas mutually opposed to each other residing in the same locus. It's not possible. Similarly, if Veda as a whole, if you say it is a pramana, then Karmakanda also is a pramana. The Uttara Bhaga of the Veda also is a pramana. If you reject one, then the second Jnana Kandam also will lose the pramanyata. So apramanya prasanga idi chet. How would you answer that, sir? Because I'm not happy with you saying that it is indirectly useful. It is useful, it has pramanyam, because if we don't accept that pramanyam, Veda Uttara Bhagam also will not have pramanyam. So what do you say for that? Iti question. Bhashyakara says na. No, that's not so. Bhādaka, this is a very important statement here. Bhādaka pratyaya anupapattehe. What is the Jnanakanda portion which is resulting in, which creates through the Akantakara vritti, removes the error of the error one has made about oneself. Okay. Then there is a Atma Pratipatti. The Atma Pratipatti is Svatasiddha Atma Pratipatti. So therefore, the Svatasiddha Atma, which has now what Atma is recognized, then there cannot be a Bhādaka Pratyaya. Something that will negate it is not tenable, Anupapattehe. Do you see the logic there? Because what he says is this conclusion. What is that you, the pramata, will arrive at? He was a pramata as a knower before jnanam, ajnani. So he wants to know, now he knows the reality of Atma. For that person, there cannot be any bhadaka pratyaya to negate that knowledge. Why so? Because this pramata himself is swallowed. There is no more a pramata. This triputi is collapsed. There is only jnanam. So for that jnanam, there cannot be anything that can ever produce a contradicting knowledge. Bhādaka pratyaya anupapattehe, because the pramata himself or herself is dissolved. There is only jnanam. There is no anymore somebody to know, somebody's knowledge to be negated, ityadi, and there is a pratyaya produced by a means of knowledge to negate that, iti. It's not possible. Because now it is only jnanam. Reality is jnanam, conscious principle. That conscious principle, everything has now been swallowed by that knowledge. There is no more triputi, jnata, neyam, jnanamiti. So there is no possibility of a bhadaka pratyaya jananam through a means of knowledge. So therefore this knowledge can never be contradicted. So therefore abhaditam, if you say, it is where this applies 100%. Okay. Hope that is clear. Yatha Brahma Vidya Vidhi Shrutya Atmani Avagate. Here, this Avagate, I will mention. This Saptami is Sati Saptami. Avagate Sati. Dehadi Sanghate, this is Adhikarana Saptami. Two Saptami side by side. One is Sati Saptami, other one is Adhikarana Saptami. Okay, these are all nuances, you have to just make a note of them. Aham pratyaya bhadyate tatha atmanyeva atma avagatihi na kadachit kenachit katamchit api bhaditum shakya palavyatirekat avagatehe. So pala avyatirekat avagatehe. So this na is expanded by the following statement. Okay, number 4. So Brahma Vidya Vidhi Shrutya. Vidhi here meaning Mahavakya. Mahavakyena akartu, this Atmani means akartru Atmani. So here again you have to do some adhyahara. Vidhi here means Mahavakya, because that's no command. Knowledge is Vastu Tantram, not Purusha Tantram. So what Bhashyakara means by Brahma Vidya Vidhi, Vidhi means Mahavakya. It is revealed through a the Akantakara vritti is generated through the understanding of a Mahavakya. So Brahma Vidya Vidhi Shrutya, that is Mahavakya Shrutya or Mahavakyena, Akartru Atmani, Atma is Akarta, Avagate Sati, that Atma is understood. I should also point out, 3 Saptami is here. This one also I should have mentioned. Atmani is Vishaya Saptami. With reference to Atma, Avagate Sati, when that is understood, Dehadi Sankate, in the Dehadi Sankata Adhikarana, where there was a mistake, Aham Pratyaha, one took that Deha to be Atma, etc. So that Aham Pratyaya, which was mistakenly assigned to body, is Badhyate, it is negated. Because Atma is Akarta Swarupataya. In reality, Atma is Akarta. So anything that is superimposed on it is negated. Once what was not there is negated. If that is negated, what was not there is negated, and that knowledge is dridam, then there cannot be contradiction of that knowledge. Bhadyate tata atmani eva atma avagatihi. This atma, atmani eva, the mistaken atma, eva atma avagatihi means what is in the adhisthana where something was superimposed. In that locus, that adhisthane, that in that locus itself, you are now understand what that locus is. So atmani eva atma avagatihi. There cannot be any other avagati. In that locus only you can understand. In the locus of the object only you can understand that the sarpa, by knowing that object only you can negate the sarpa. Atmani eva atma avagatihi. And that avagati, that understanding, na kadachit, at any time, kenachit, kenachit means by another pramana, pramanantarena, katam chit, in whatever, by whatever manner, bhaditum shakya. Why so? Phala avyatirekat avagatehe. There is no separate phala, there is no phala vyapti. Phala avyatireka. This Atma eva understood what it really is. Atmani eva Atma avagati. Therefore, there is no separate phala. Phala avyatirekat avagatehe. There is no, the 10th man is when he said Dasamosi, you are the 10th man. It is the 10th man who understands the 10th man. He is not understanding someone else as the 10th man. So, phala avyatirekat avagatehe. Then Bhashyakara continues, gives that example that he gave before. Yatha agnihi yatha agnihi ushnaha prakashascha iti. Like you say, Agni is Ushnam, it is hot, and it is Prakasha, it illuminates. Agnehe Aushniyam or Prakashyam iti. Can you ever remove or contradict that Prakasha or Ushnam of the Agni? You cannot do that. See, the Tarkikas, here interesting side note, the Tarkikas, they use only logic. So what they say, they look at the Panchabhutas. Now, Akasha, then Vayu, Apaha, Prithivi. If you take these 4, they don't have the characteristic of being hot. That Aushnyam is not there. So they make a Vyapti. Yatra yatra bhautikam vartate. That means a thing of one of the bhutas, bhuta karyam. Yatra yatra bhuta vikaraha, that means bhuta karyam, bhuta vikaraha vartate, tatra tatra na aushnyam. Because they have four things, they are all bhutani, but there's no fire. I mean, there's no hot. They are not hot. So therefore, they make a vyapti based on these four. So then the conclusion, because of this vyapti, I have four things. They are also bhutani, they are bhuta vikara, and they are vikaras also. Then they are not hot. So therefore, Agni also is not hot, is the conclusion they make. That is Anumana Gamyam. Seems logical. Then they want to verify it, then there is fire, then they go and touch it. It's hot. So therefore, that Anumana is Badita. Right? So Agnehe Aushnyam is not inferential. You can't make an inference of it by like the logicians did. So what is the thing's reality, it can never be contradicted. So Agnihi Ushnaha Prakashascha itivat. So therefore this Pala avyetirekat avagatehe atmani eva atma avagatihi Agnehe Aushniyamvat na kadachit kenachit katamchit api baditum shakya. So
Mama,
that is
one question. எப்படி அந்த logicianோட I'm not able to connect.
no, so that is you can't arrive at the
By logic.
reality of something by logic.
They
arrive at that Agni is not hot by logic.
Okay.
That won't work. Here also, Atma is Swadashiddham. That cannot be arrived through logic nor any pramana for that matter.
Okay. Got it.
So therefore, it can never be subject to bhada. Can never be contradicted. So that is what the Nanakanda portion is. Therefore, you can't say Karma vidhi shrutivati Brahma vidya vidhi shrutehe api apramanya prasangaha. What he says is at some point in the future, you say abhaditam pramanamiti. That abhaditam pramana can be contradicted some eons later. May somebody will come with a better pramana and contradict what you conclude here. He says, no, this is first of all, that's not the situation. This can never be contradicted.
Yeah,
Because this knowledge is where everything is followed. Pala avyatireka bhagati. So therefore, it can never be contradicted. And the example is a reality of something can never be contradicted. That's why it is reality, right?
Yes, got it. Yes.
Okay. Then, nacha yevam karma vidhi shrutehe apramanyam. This he put it in quotes because this is what the Purvapakshis karma vidhi shrutehe apramanyam nacha evam. Bhashikara now this he comes back to the point that there is an indirect relevance of karma kanda. So that point he reiterates. So this is the first level of answer. That is, karma kanda has an indirect relevance. Therefore, it is still, you can accept it as pramana. And that pramana is what we say, vyavaharika pramanam. Vyavaharika pramanam. It has a certain relevance. Karma vidhi shrutehe apramanyam, that is what they said before, so within quotes, nacha evam, that's not so. What you said is not so, sir. You don't need to. That karma vidhi doesn't have the status of pramanyata iti, you don't need to consider that. Why so? He gives another answer. Very beautiful answer. Purva pravritti nirodhena uttarottara uttarottara, that I is there, uttarottara purva, so uttarottara apurva pravritti jananasya pratyekatma abhimukyena pravritti upadanartatvat. The same idea which was said before, that you need this karma kanda, and for this he says, that is the sixth point here. I will come to that in a minute. Purva pravritti nirodhena. The fellow, for many lives or whatever, he starts with some karma. It could be prakrita karma. He could be a prakrita purusha. Then he has no control. Whatever he does, whatever he mityachara, whatever he pleases, he does. Then slowly he comes to doing certain things within certain dharma. Then also he indulges only in kamya karmas. Then finally he will come to a stage at some life, looking at the futility of all these pursuits, and then looking at the defects in these pursuits, he will come to taking recourse to committing to uttarottara apurva pravritti, some new ideas like nitya naimittika karmas have to be done nishkamena iti. Purva pravritti nirodhena, he will discard. First he will follow some dharma. So like a pamara he won't behave. He will consider, take into account dharma. But still he will pursue kamya karmas. But that also, nishiddha karmas he won't. Kamya karmas he might pursue. Then he will nirodha, he will reject it. Then he will come to nitya naimittika karmas. Nitya naimittika karmas also can be done seeking punya, like we saw in this upasaṁhārabhāṣya earlier. Like you can do agnihotram looking for swarga. He rejects that also. So finally, without any palakanksha, he is doing nitya naimittika karmas. Even antakarana shuddhi is not what he has in mind, but it so happens. So uttarottara apurva pravritti jananasya. So from that apurva pravritti, by doing those nishkamena nitya naimittika karmas, what is the what is created? What is jananam? What is jananam is pratyekatma abhimukyena. He now turns his attention to inquire about the self. Pravritti upadanartatvat. So that is the purpose of karma kanda. And this idea, again, Bhashyakara refers to, not here, elsewhere, the verse in the Gītā. This is the idea of the verse in the Gītā. Arurukshor munehe yogam karma karanam uchyate. Karma is the karanam, one who is wanting to gain this proficiency in the inquiry. Then if he gains that proficiency, then the karma kanda loses its pramanyata. Yoga rudasya tasyaiva shamak karanam uchyate. And then elsewhere in the same chapter, anashrita karma palam karyam karma karoti yaha. So he is this uttarottara apurva pravritti jananam, that is anashrita karma palam. Karma palam is his anashritaha, karyam karma, that is kartavyam karma karoti, and he has to do that until he gains that ability to inquire. Yoga, then if he gains that ability, yoga rudasya, shamam means jnanam here, shamak karanam uchyate. Okay, so that's the point. Now, then he goes further. This next conclusion is also an important conclusion. So what he says, let us see. Mityatvepi upayasya. So even though it is mithya, because it is later shown to be mithya, right? After knowledge, it is the Jnanakanda shows kartrutvam is mithya. Upayasya upeya satyataya. Then the upeya is satyam. The upaya, even though it is mithya, is satyatvam eva syat. This is a very interesting point. Very interesting point. It is useful. So, mithyatvepi upayasya upeyas satyataya satyatvam eva syat yatha. Then he gives the justification for it. This is Mimamsa analysis. This is acceptable to the Mimamsakas. Yatha arthavadhanam vidhi seshanam. See, in the Jaimini Sutra, there is a sutra which is very important. Amnayasya kriya-artatvat. Amnaya means Veda. Amnayartasya kriya-artatvat anartakyam atattarthanam. Amnayasya, Vedasya kriya-artatvat. Veda param is kriya-artatvam. Veda's commitment is kriya. Amnayasya kriya-artatvat atat arthanam. Atat, anything that is not connected to kriya, okay, anartakyam bhavati. They are all useless. They are not relevant. Iti, there is a Jaimini Sutra. Then the same problem will come for them also. Then what do you do with statements which are not directly connected to vidhi vakyas? There are many statements in the Vedas not necessarily connected to vidhi vakyas. Then what do you do with them? Do you then all reject them? Because they are all not kriya param. A kriya param word means it has to yajeta, alabheta. Like this, it will have direct vidhi vakyas, verbs which will lot, make you do something. But there are many statements which don't have that kind of a lot. They are all ordinary statements. So then, what do you do with them? Then the same Mimamsakas, Purva Mimamsakas, come up with a method to reconcile that. They say, if there are vakyas around which are ordinary statements, not necessarily directly asking you to do something or avoid something, then you have to see what are the nearby, in the vicinity, are there any kriya vakyas, and see whether these statements can be connected to the kriya vakyas. If they are all connected to kriya vakyas, treat those statements as arthavada to praise the kriya. Arthavadhanam vidhi-seshanam. They are all vidhi-sesha. That means some residue of the vidhi, not directly in the vidhi, but as an outside statement, but as a vidhi-sesha, connecting to the vidhi. So then they become arthavat bhavati. They become purposeful. So this is called arthavada. Arthavada, where a statement doesn't have a vidhi embedded in it, some plain statements, looking at the near proximity of what are the vidhi vakyas, if they are connectable to those vidhi vakyas, please do connect them and make them as arthavada vakyas, and the arthavada vakyas have pramanyata. Thereby they gain the pramanyata. Like the vidhi vakyas directly gain the pramanyata, then the arthavada statements, by serving as a vidhi sesha, they gain the pramanyata. So this is the Purvamimamsaka's thesis. So Bhashyakara brings that here. You have to do the same thing. Mithyatvepi upayasya upeya satyataya satyatvam eva syat. Like yatha arthavadhanam vidhi seshanam. So here, that number 7, what is the background of this? I will give you an example. This is all discussed in great detail in the Brahmasutra Bhashya, but just to give you an example of this so that you know where Shankara is writing from. So here, Yatahi, this is the Brahmasutra Bhashya, the first adhyaya, third pada, 33rd sutra. Yatahi vayavyam Shvetam alabheta bhutikamaha iti atra vidhi uddeshavartinam vayavyadipadanam vidina sambandha. Here, look at this statement. Bhutikamaha, the one who desires of wealth. He has to do a karma called vayavyam. It's some propitiation of vayu, vayavyam. Shvetam alabheta. Shvetam here refers to a white cow. Alabheta, bhutikamaha alabheta. He has to bring, he has to have. This is a vidhi vakya. Okay? But then there is another statement, naivam vayurvai chepishta devata vayumeva svena bhagadeyena upadhavati saha eva yenam bhutim gamayati iti yesham arthavadagatanam padanam. There is another statement, Vayurvai Chepishta Devata. Vayuhu Chepishta Devata means Vayu is a Devata, like Vayu moves very fast, wind moves very fast. Like the wind moves very fast, this Vayur Devata will also bring the results to you quickly. So therefore, what they think is, this Vayurvai Chepishta Devata doesn't have any vidhi there. Like the other statement had alabheta, vidhi, that command is there, but here there is no command. So what do we do? This Vayurva alabheta iti, Chepishta Devata va alabheta ityadi, you Vayu Swabhava Sankirtanena to avantaram anvayam pratipatya. By this Vayu's character is to bring something quickly. Evam visishta daivatyam idam karmedi vidim stuvanti. So it is praising that karma. What karma? This statement Vayurvai Chepishta Devata, this statement which is plain statement, since it is found in the vicinity of this statement is only to praise this, that like if you do Vayavyadi Yajna, like Vayur Devata, how it brings very fast, how wind brings very fast or moves very fast, Vayur Devata will bring very fast the bhuti that you are desiring. Tatyatra Saha avantara vakyartha pramanantara gocharaha bhavati tatra tat anuvadena arthavadaha pravartate. It becomes an arthavada and it is pramanyam. It can be accepted as pramanyam because it is praising an adjacent vidhivakya. So you connect to that vidhivakya, then everything is hanky-dory. Yes, similarly here, all the entire karma kanda is like an arthavada. It's all only connecting you to the jnana kanda where the pramanyam is there. Because it is anadhikata vishaya and abhadita vishaya. Then he gives an example, an interesting example. Lokepi balon mattadinam paya adau. Paya adau is a compound. Paya adau. Paya iti payayitavye Chuda Vardhanadi Vachanam. So, in those days, this is Vedic example, Bala Unmatta. Somebody is Bala, a child, Unmatta, some mad person, person. So, you make that person drink something, Paya Adav. So, Paya means milk, Adav, whatever you want that Unmatta guy to drink, maybe a medicine or something. Then the mother makes this boy to drink milk, and she says to him, if you drink milk, your hair will grow. Chuda Vardhanam. In those days, the balakas will have tufts because they will all do Veda Dhyanam, and that is a vidhi there. You have to have a shikha. So therefore, they desire to have lot of hair so they can do the tuft, etc. So that is the Vedic times. There was a desire for growing hair. So the mother will tell, if you drink milk, your hair will grow. That's no connection. But to entice the child to drink milk, the mother will say that. It is like that. The karma kanda is asking you to do this, that, etc. so that you will, by examination, the hope of the Veda is by examination, you will do this purva pravritti nirodha, and then you will take through uttara pravritti margena, you will come to a understanding. There will be a utpatti in your mind of pratyekatma vivimukha vichara. So that will happen to you in due course. Therefore, like the mother tells the boy, drink milk so your hair will grow, it is of that nature, it is an arthavadam. The whole karma kanda is an arthavadam. This is the declaration of Bhashyakara. Now, where does it find a support? So that is the point number 8 here for that statement. It is taken from Bhagavatam, the Ekadasa Skanda. I have been discussing this Jayantiya Gītā, the Jayantayaha, all these Jayantayaha, I should say, Jayantayaha, these Nava Yogis, their advice to the Nimi Chakravarti. In there, this particular section highlights this very beautifully. The verse is this, Parokshavadah Vedoyam Balanam Anusasanam Karma Mokshaya Karmani Vidhatte Hi Agadam Yatha. So like Ayam Vedaha, this Veda, Parokshavadah. It is Parokshavada. Veda, everything is Paroksham. It is telling something what is not known to you, that is Parokshavada, and it tells everything indirectly only, because directly it cannot be communicated. So, Balanam Anusasanam Karmani Karma Mokshaya Vidyate. Karmani Anusasanam Karma Mokshaya. So, the Vedas ask you to do karma for get relief from the karma. Just like you ask the child to drink, if the child is not well, you ask the child to drink the medicine. There the purpose is not make the child drink medicine, but the purpose is to cure the child of the fever. So that the Sridhariya Bhashya, he writes a very beautiful commentary. I will read that commentary. Nanu Swargadi Artham Karmani Vidatte. The purpose of Veda is not Swarga at all. Even though there is a Vakya, Swarga Kamahe Jeta, here he says is only an enticement. It's not, there is no promise of a Swarga or anything. It's only an enticement. Nanu Swargadiyartam Karmani Vidatte na Karma Mokshartam Tatraha Balana Manusasanam Yatha Bhavati Tatha. So, Swargartam Karmani Vidatte, if you ask, na. Karma Mokshartam Karmani Vidatte, that is the Anvaya. Atra Drishtandaha Agadam. Agadam means Aushadam, medicine. Yatha Pita Balam Agadam Payayan to make the child drink this medicine, khanda laddukadibihi, some sweet stuff. Pralobhayan means enticing. Payayati datati chetani. By just giving him, I will give you, if you drink this medicine, I will give you a kanta chakra. I will give you some sweet. I will give you a chocolate. That pralobhayan. So making him, entice him to drink this medicine. Na etavata agadapanasya tallabha prayojanam. The idea, the father's idea is not just to make him drink that medicine. What is the intention of the father? To arogya. Arogyam, he wants the child to be free from the fever. Tatha Vedapi avantara palaihi pralobhayan. So Veda entices his fellow saying Surga, etc. For what purpose? Karma moksha eva. Karmani vidhatte. This is the Sridhariya Bhashyam. Karma Kanda, the entire Karma Kanda is an Arthavada meant for the ultimate goal of moksha. So therefore, from your rule, Amnayasya Kriyartatva, that rule, by connecting the thing to a Pramanic statement, I can make Karma Kanda as useful as an Arthavada is useful. Is Karma Kanda also indirectly useful to the Jnanam, which is said in the Uttara Bhaga of the Veda. So we don't necessarily say it doesn't have Pramanam. Then, closing this argument, Bhashyakara gives a second reason also, that is the next statement. Prakarantara cha mokshatyeva va pramanyam siddham. You can say sakshatyeva. Directly it is a cause for moksha. Prakarantarasthanam. So sakshatyeva pramanyam siddham. Because when you look at until knowledge takes place, this pratyakshadi pramanams are useful to you to do whatever transactions you do. In the dream, you do certain vyaparas with the dream eyes, dream organs, etc. They are all going to be negated later, but in the swapna kale, they have pramanyam. So similarly here, directly it has pramanam. Until knowledge takes place, they have pramanyata. You don't have to discard it. So therefore, directly also you can say sakshateva pramanyam siddham. So you don't have to even say indirectly, even directly. So they have this vyavaharitvam, vyavahara pramana until you gain this knowledge. Only then you negate everything. So until this knowledge, this has pramana. Then the Veda pramanam, the Purva Bhagam, Uttara Bhagam also loses its pramanyata for a jnani. Then for an agyani, the Karma Kanda, etc., the Veda, the Purva Bhaga of the Veda also has a certain pramanyata, direct pramanyam, not necessarily as a indirect pramanam to Jnana Kanda by in terms of sadhana tushte sampatti iti. So this way directly also that's a vyavahara pramanyam. The Bhashyakara says there's a direct connection also. So we therefore Veda as a whole has the status of pramanyata, and that is not violated in any way, because the Uttara Bhagam of the Veda reveals that Satyam Jnanam Anantam Brahma iti, the Swadasiddha Atma is revealed, the reality is revealed. Just because of that, you don't have to reject one portion of the Veda over the other. The whole Veda is Pramanam, because for him it is Ekatatparya. The whole Veda has only Ekatatparyam, and Ekatatparyam is Mokshartham eva. So that is therefore karma also is for Mokshartham eva. Bhashyakara concludes. So this section now is over. So then there's one last section that Purva Bhakshi will bring in again, that we will see in the next class. ಓಂ ಪೂರ್ಣಮದ ಪೂರ್ಣಮಿದಂ ಪೂರ್ಣಾತ್ ಪೂರ್ಣಮುದಚ್ಯತೆ ಪೂರ್ಣಸ್ಯ ಪೂರ್ಣಮಾದಾಯ ಪೂರ್ಣಮೇವಾವಶಿಷ್ಯತೆ. ಓಂ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ ಶಾಂತಿ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ ಶ್ರೀ ಗುರುಭ್ಯೋ ನಮಃ. ಹರಿ ಓಂ ತತ್ಸತ್. ಬ್ರಹ್ಮಾರ್ಪಣಮಸ್ತು.